Welcome, everyone. I'm Paula Bartholomew. I'm the Director of Online Events, and we're just delighted that you've tuned in for Hawthorn University's All About Alumni 2019. We had a brilliant 2018 series of Hawthorn graduate presentations, and Victor Causetto started us off this year in 2019 in January, so I hope you'll visit our website and view their presentations too. You'll find them under archived webinars at the top right corner of our webinar. And if you're listening for the first time, I want to let you know that All About Alumni is our platform to showcase Hawthorn graduates in order for them to share their post-grad activities and accomplishments. The many ways they're using their Hawthorn education in their practices is nothing short of amazing to me. And we have a variety of degree and certificate programs at Hawthorn, some for those that are pursuing a clinical track with the goal of working directly with clients. Other programs are dedicated to those seeking primarily to educate, such as writing books or developing courses and workshops and programs, doing more public speaking or teaching for a school. And we have other options for those who are simply want to learn valuable, credible information in a conducive environment. The success of our students is really a testament to Hawthorn University's mission and principles to provide quality, affordable, holistic health and nutrition education. And there's always something more to learn at Hawthorn. And that brings me right back to today. We have Laura Ehlers, and Laura graduated from our Master's of Science in Health and Nutrition Education program, and she's going to share her post-grad professional experiences with her presentation, Being an Influencer, Courses, Consults, and Coaching. We'll hear about Laura's professional experiences as she emerges as an influencer in this field, from harnessing social media, working with brands, developing programs and courses, her YouTube channel, and her approaches to client consultations and coaching practices. And while I have the pleasure of interviewing Laura, you'll have the opportunity to ask her questions directly too. So don't hold back. Simply post a question or a comment to the question panel. And certainly don't fret if you miss something, because we're recording this and we'll post this to our website too. All right, all that said, hello, Laura, and welcome.
Hi.
I'm really excited to be here together.
I am so excited.
I'm terrific. We have a lot of graduates and alumni and a number of people streaming in for this call, so I'm thrilled for you to be able to present your experiences and share a little bit more of what you've been up to.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let me share that Laura Ehlers is a holistic health consultant behind laurasnaturallife.com. She worked for a functional medicine doctor for years while she earned her master's degree in health and nutrition education from Hawthorn. She started a YouTube channel back in 2014 where she educates chemically conscious women about non-toxic products and holistic health topics. Laura also offers one-on-one consulting, online courses, and works for brands via the blog and her YouTube channel. We're so pleased that you've joined us to hear Laura's story. Laura, I'm going to turn this over to you if you're ready.
Absolutely.
All right. Because most of us have heard stories of how and why we got interested in holistic health. So I'd like you to start us off because I want to hear yours, Laura. And also if you share a little bit about why you have the focus on non-toxic products and lifestyle.
Definitely. So I got married about 8 years ago, and we moved into a brand newly constructed home. Up until that point in my life, I had been really healthy. I had migraines and had seen some holistic professionals for those, but nothing out of the ordinary, really. Within 2 weeks of moving into that home, I had severe neurological symptoms like burning in my hands, feet, mouth, face all the time. And I developed horrible anxiety and mood swings, and suddenly was very sensitive to anything with a smell. So I was also very blessed at this almost exact same time that I was hired by my functional medicine practitioner. She's one of the top in the state, and there's really no better boss than your own doctor, especially when something like this is happening. So I worked for her for about 3 years, and I mean, we tried so many things, all the detoxes, all the supplements, all the lab tests. And we also kind of assembled a team, not just her, but through another doctor, I found out that I had chronic Lyme disease at the time and mold illness. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with mold illness, but Dr. Richie Shoemaker is the one who discovered that about 1 in 4 of us have genes to predispose us to becoming chronically ill from mold exposure. And
right.
so I just always like to throw that out there when I'm talking to other people who are interested in health, because there's so few people who can help people with mold illness that it's really a field in which there's a lot of opportunity to help. So
It's true. And chronic Lyme and mold often go together and
yeah,
are challenging to diagnose, certainly from a conventional perspective. And so, yeah, it's I'm glad it got identified and handled for you. So
yeah, definitely. And so really, eventually we'll get to this, but moving out of that house is really what propelled my health the most. But during that time, I started researching products. My boss said, "Hey, what about your makeup?" And I'm like, well, I'm allergic and sensitive to everything. So I imagine the things I can handle are fine. And I'd never thought about chemicals being in, especially my beauty products. And so she introduced me to the Environmental Working Group and their Skin Deep database. And I was just shocked that even stuff that I could handle had chemicals that are known to be carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. And being someone that has always loved makeup, going makeup free was not an option for me. And I really kind of devoted myself to learning about beauty ingredients and finding new beauty products that were less toxic. And I gotta tell you, 8 years ago, that was a much, much harder thing to do than it is today. And I also really loved the office where I worked, and it was small. We really knew all the patients. They could walk in and say, "How's, your dog, your daughter? Like, did you have a gymnastics meet this week?" And I really wanted to be more hands-on in that office. And so I liked that this also set me apart. And I really wanted to take on more responsibility with patients in any way that I could.
So did that lead you to Hawthorn?
It did. So we had
It's always curious to me, how people discover Hawthorn. And so if you share a little bit about that and then why you chose us.
Definitely. So we had a woman in our clinic who was the patient educator, and I always knew she was planning to retire in a couple of years, and it was kind of in the back of my mind that I was going to be the next patient educator, and I wanted to make sure that I, set myself apart more. So I thought if I could get more education, I would be a shoo-in. So I asked our doctor if she knew of any online programs that I could do specifically for nutrition or any other holistic health credential. Because really, going in person wasn't an option for me with my health. And in our town, my only option would be to go back to school to be a registered dietitian, or I'd have to move somewhere. So online was really what I wanted. And she asked her functional medicine colleagues if they had experience with any schools that they would recommend, and they recommended Hawthorn, and they recommended another program as well. And so in comparing them, I chose Hawthorn because I really liked that I could get an actual master's degree for the same amount of time and money as another place might only give a certificate. The information and coursework was just much more in depth and hands-on for what I wanted to do. And the time frames were really good. It was really easy for me to fit it into my life at that time. There's what I felt to be the perfect amount of time per each class. So there was just amount of time that you couldn't slack off, and not too much time that you weren't going to finish it and wait till the last minute. But it's also pretty flexible. So say in the winter, there's less, going on in your personal life, and you want to cram in some more classwork, you can speed up your process a little bit more too. So it's really flexible and easy to fit in. And I loved that it was holistic based because, like I said, it's hard to find a holistic nutrition program. And I also really like that now we have these webinars with alumni, but also with other practitioners. For instance, the ones that you guys have right now for interpreting lab results, I find to be super helpful because that's something that I loved being able to see people use in the clinic and help them. And having that extra practitioner education to help me interpret lab results for my clients is so invaluable.
So,
and then, of course, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to point out the lab series that you're talking about. That was a 6-part lab series that we ran from March through June, I think. And just terrific. Ran through 5 or 6 different types of labs and did case studies with it and tremendous learning with it. So those are available up on our website for viewing. And coming this summer, Hawthorn is offering a summer symposium based on this series and expanding it further. So coming
Awesome.
soon to to those that are interested in lab testing.
That's so great.
So Laura, how did you get from wanting to be an office patient educator to kind of through Hawthorn and then your own business?
Yeah. So like I said, I have the mold illness gene, and unfortunately we had water damage in the office, and the landlord at the time was not up on how to handle that and did nothing, unfortunately. And it did get resolved over time, and they did eventually do correct mold remediation and water damage control, but I didn't feel like I could wait for that, not knowing when that would happen. And so I actually had to leave the practice, which was really, really heartbreaking for me. But luckily everything got resolved on their end. She's still my doctor. Like, we're still have a great relationship, but I suddenly found myself in a new home. And I was actually feeling a lot better and suddenly with a lot of time on my hands. So I first started out sending resumes because I was probably, I want to say 4 to 6 months out of I was close to being done with my program. And so I sent out my resume to all the holistic healthcare facilities in town, basically saying, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be done soon. I have this experience. Are you interested in bringing on a patient educator, a nutritionist, or are you interested in like renting a room to me after hours where I could bring my own clients? And I did not hear back from anybody except for one. And here in the state of Wisconsin, she was a chiropractor, and a chiropractor has to actually have their nutrition certificate in order to employ a nutritionist. And she was interested, but she didn't have the certificate, so we couldn't do it. So just to keep in mind that every state has a different set of rules as to who can call themselves a nutritionist if you are looking into getting into this education. But that's kind of when I decided to start a YouTube channel, actually. And that's kind of where it all changed.
It's really interesting that a chiropractor would have to have a nutrition certification in order to employ a nutritionist.
It's crazy.
It's like, didn't they just learn, maybe what they needed to do for employing someone else? But it's, bravo, because it's exactly what you need to do is send out your resumes and then follow up and ask to speak with somebody. And so anyway, you landed on a YouTube channel and a path forward. So let's talk about YouTube and how that played a part in your healing and also your business development.
Yeah. So YouTube had always been an escape for me when I was chronically ill, especially beauty product videos. That's when I discovered that, wow, the same people are uploading videos. I didn't know that there were channels. I thought it was all cat videos up until that point. So, and I just loved them. But once
Healthy cats.
Yeah. Once I had transitioned my beauty collection to being non-toxic, I wanted to find that kind of beauty review. And there were so few videos and so few people doing them that I knew that when I was in a better space, I wanted to make my own videos to help other people find good products, because they really were hit or miss and hard to find,
Sure.
even as few as 5 years ago. So when I had started feeling better and we were in our new house is when I decided to go for it. And my first video was actually about magnesium. I wanted to bring an eclectic variety of holistic information, from non-toxic products to nutrition to my experience with chronic illness. And my videos about the products, especially the beauty products, are what really received the most views and questions and requests. And so that's kind of what I started doing more of, and what people know me from is doing clean beauty reviews. So
Amazing what gets the attention, right?
It really, oh yeah.
Something we must pay attention to is what gets attention.
Yes. So it wasn't long until I started being approached by brands to review their products in exchange for free product. Mm-hmm. Now, at that time, I didn't know how to value my worth or my work, and I would say yes, because it's really flattering in the beginning when this happens. You're like, wow, this brand that I know of like saw my stuff. I'd love to work with them for free. Mm-hmm. And if you are interested in adding the influencer piece to your business, I would recommend that you do not do this. Of course, no matter what you do, you want the brand that you work with to be a good fit for you and your audience. And because if it's not, you're going to lose your integrity and then you lose your business. So I kind of thought that earning income via YouTube came from monetizing your videos and those ads that play in the beginning of YouTube videos. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if this becomes my full-time job? But I was pretty naive and I didn't understand that that's not how YouTubers make a full-time income. And now, for you guys' reference, I have, at this point, I've been doing this for 4.5 years. I have about 25,000 subscribers. And so I think that if you have upwards of 100,000 subscribers and you're posting daily, YouTube ads could be quite a chunk of change. But until you get to that point, they're not going to be. So I think I got my first paycheck from YouTube about a year after I'd been doing consistent videos, and it was about $100. So that's when I realized things might have to change if I'm going to consider this as my full-time job. And that's when I learned about sponsored posts and affiliate income. And I think most people are familiar with the word affiliate, but it's just basically like you have a link that tracks when people click it from you, and if they buy a product that you've talked about, then you'll get a small commission from it. So that's something that I use in my business to this day. Anytime I recommend a product, I try to find an affiliate link, and then I can earn a small commission. But really, the big way to earn money as an influencer is through sponsored posts. And sponsored content is what happens when you have a good match in a brand and you've created a partnership and you are giving your audience basically marketing their product or service plus all of your work for your photography, your videography, and in exchange for money, not in exchange for product. So
you're endorsing them and they get your audience, their audience contacts?
Oh, sorry. Basically, it is, say I'm creating content for my audience. So I'm putting in the work to do photography, to do videos, to do all of the back end kind of things as well. I'm basically creating a marketing campaign to show to my audience for pay.
I get it.
And a lot of people think that it's just like, oh, you're getting paid to talk about something with your audience. But that's not really it. Because if you were going to pay a marketing agency to do an ad, you would be paying a photographer, a videographer, and then the person who writes the ad. So you're actually paying for the work that goes into it, not just the audience. And that's where a lot of people have problems with is sponsored content feels wrong to them. But like, there's so much work that goes into it, at least 10 to 15 hours. And so they're really paying for the work.
No, thanks for that clarification. It was a little confusing the way it was presented at first. It was like, oh, you're giving away yourself. You're selling your soul for this, which was never my understanding of how sponsored content went. But it's no, it's like selling supplements, and I'm sure you'll get to that when we go a little bit further. Is you're qualified because of your educational background to do this work, to create videos and photography and speak about brands and content that you believe in and find value of, and don't mind telling other people that they could benefit from it too, whether that's makeup or a supplement or a lab test or a specific way of addressing a health condition.
Yeah, totally. And there are so many different ways to do a sponsored post too. And some people do them so well, and some people don't do them well. So I think it's also the people who make it really salesy who kind of give it a bad taste in your mouth. But there are really authentic ways to do it. Of course, again, you're only going to want to talk about things that you really believe in, which is going to add to the authenticity as well. But I actually learned that I don't enjoy doing sponsored work. I don't enjoy the back and forth and the contracts, and there can be a lack of creative control when you do these kind of things. And so I kind of learned that this wouldn't be my path. And in order to be able to still make frequent content and YouTube videos, I would kind of have to pivot in order to make income.
So is that when you decided to create more product other than just videos?
It is. So actually my first product was an ebook, and it was called The 10-Day Reset, although I did rename it eventually to the Crave Free Cleanse because I thought that was just a little more catchy. But it came out of a 10-day challenge that I gave like January 1st. And I offered it to the people on my email list. At that time, there was like maybe 200, and I think 40 to 50 people signed up for it. So I just emailed them every couple of days with tips and recipes and stuff like that. And when I was done, I was like, gee, this was like a hit. That's a pretty good ratio of people who are interested in this information. I should just compile this into an ebook and have it for sale for like $10 for people whenever they want it. And it was a great first product to try to do on my own. It was like 40 pages, and it had the cleanse and it had some recipes, but it was really mostly like holistic nutrition 101. And I basically explained, what are macronutrients? Is caffeine good or bad? What is artificial sweeteners okay, or natural sweeteners better? Like which ones, and fats, and can fats make me fat? And all those kind of like misconceptions that people have about nutrition. And it was such a great book. I had so much fun writing it. And I was enrolled in a business program at the time, B School by Marie Forleo. And with her help, she kind of, I mean, not individually because it was a big program, but her program pushed me to create an online course because I was just like on such a high from making the book. And that's when I created my first course, which is still available. It's Clean Beauty Academy. And I created this in a way that I would not recommend for other people to create this, which is that I did not poll my audience. I was not offering online coaching. I basically decided what my audience needed myself, which I would not recommend. But I did get a lot of YouTube comments and Instagram comments, so I kind of went off of that. And at this time in the clean beauty space, people were getting like really nitpicky about ingredients. They wanted to learn them, to read labels, to know what was going on their body, which is totally still the case. But I think that the type of information and the way it's presented is different. Like what people are looking for now is different than what people were looking for then. And I say this because I don't know if this course would have launched as well now as it did then. And you really need to know your ideal client if you're going to create a program. And there are a million ways to find, or a million resources online to help you narrow down who your ideal client is. I also, as will you probably, if you're ever hoping to make a course, I had no idea what I was doing. I taught piano for 12 years, so I was pretty confident in teaching and creating a curriculum. And like I said, I had been taking B school, and I'd also tried a couple other online courses. And so I'd experienced a variety of what they looked like and what they offered. And really the hardest part for me at that time was figuring out what software and what type of technology I needed. Mm-hmm. But even with all of that said, it only took me 6 weeks to create the course. So my next one took over a year. So it can take as short or as long as you want it to, even if you don't know what you're doing. If it's your full focus, like you can really, and you're clear and you have your goals, you can totally create a course. Anyone can do it. This one specifically, Clean Beauty Academy, I designed it to be really easy for people to go through. It's only like 2 hours. I meant for it to give all the information to someone who's relatively new to clean beauty for what they need to know to assess the products that they own as to if those are up to their standards, and then transition to cleaner products. So I have it split up into 3 different tiers of ingredients. So if someone's brand new and it's overwhelming, they can just choose to avoid the first tier of ingredients. Mm-hmm. Or if someone wants to be really, really strict, they can avoid all 3 tiers, or you can pick and choose whatever feels good to the student going through it. I'm all about giving tools and not rules to people. I also made workbooks and gave all sorts of strategies. So I just think that doing courses can be really, really good. It can be a great way to give targeted, thorough information if it's something that people are interested in doing. And I do want to mention here that the most effective way of marketing for me, and I learned this through selling my first course, is through email marketing. There's so much focus put on like getting a big Instagram following these days, but at least in my experience, it is important to work on growing an audience, but actual sales seem to come mostly from email, not from like an Instagram post. And then I really enjoyed making the course, but it was really intense emotionally because, like I said, I did it over 6 weeks, mm-hmm. and I needed a little bit of a break. And I kind of like took some time to mull over what I wanted to do next. Did I want it to be on nutrition, or like finding your food sensitivities, or creating a healthy home? And given my background in having my home trigger my health problems and then moving to a different home and recovering, it kind of only seemed natural to go that route. So that's when I started creating Welling Your Dwelling. And like I said, this one took over a year to create, mainly because I was pregnant and ended up in the hospital, and then my child was in the hospital for a couple months. So my business was like on the back burner for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then this one is an open and closed course, meaning that I only open it a couple times a year. Everyone goes through the modules at the same time, and then we end with a live component. And I chose to do this one this way because this course is just so big and so in depth that I don't want to leave people hanging. And I want to make sure that I'm there for people to be able to ask questions in real time and have my full attention. Whereas with Clean Beauty Academy, that one is available for purchase at any time. People can go through it anytime they want to. But I found that it was really kind of a one-way street. And I do have ways of following up with people. Like I have a exiting survey. I send follow-up emails, automated emails, but I very rarely hear back from people or get questions on that. Whereas with Welling Your Dwelling, because it's my sole focus for a couple chunks at a time, mm-hmm. It really is a two-way street. And so that's kind of the difference between the courses that I offer as well.
Beautiful. I love it. Just the description of what you've learned from jumping right in without knowing anything to, wow, I've learned a lot, and I'm refining the way I'm approaching it to create it and how it's presented, and getting different feedback and results from the people that are taking it too. Brilliant. I think that, it also reflects back to when said you were coming to Hawthorn, and then people taking your courses also. It must be the same for them, that it's not easy to take courses or to learn, to have to go someplace to a live in-person place, whether that's a school or for a workshop or for a training. And so to be able to come and access this at your own time and with your own abilities from your own office or your home is just, it's a beautiful offering.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it much more accessible to people.
Definitely.
All right, so from here, did you have anything else to talk about this? Otherwise, I think we should talk about coaching and consults.
Yeah, let's
see how that
do
fits
it.
in. Okay.
So I did some nutrition consults here and there in town, like through the years, just for people I knew. And then I brought on the option to do it online in like January of 2017. And that's when I was transitioning from my part-time day job to doing Laura's Natural Life full-time. And at that point, I offered nutrition consults, but really targeted working with people with chemical sensitivity. Unfortunately, that was really short-lived because I was in the hospital a month later, but I just recently brought it back. But now I offer nutrition coaching rather than consulting. And I'll tell you how I see the difference, and people may disagree with me, and that's fine. But I see consulting as kind of like a one-off appointment. And I found that if I don't suggest that we begin with more than one visit, a lot of times clients will just want to meet with me one time and then send me a bunch of emails. And sometimes that works, but more often than not, people need more than one session for a lifestyle change. And that can come with accountability and troubleshooting from meeting more than once. So if I'm going to do nutrition with somebody, I now only offer a coaching package of at least 3 for that reason. And then I do product consulting and strategy sessions for people who want to transition to using cleaner products but are overwhelmed or don't know where to start, or maybe just have like a really specific issue in their home or their beauty routine. And this is where I would call this consulting, because it is generally just a one-off appointment where someone can pick my brain about as many or few products or questions as they want to, and typically just one session is plenty. I know that there might be some of you out there who are like, okay, but how do you do this? Like, what software do I need? And keep it as simple as possible. So I do these via a video chat software called Zoom. This can be free, or you can upgrade for paid as well. I use Acuity to schedule my appointments. I use the free version, but again, there's also a paid version with more bells and whistles. And then I just give people my PayPal link to pay me for these appointments. And yes, PayPal does take a small percentage, but pretty much any sort of processing payment thing online is going to take a percentage. So I just like to say, don't overthink it. Keep it as simple as you can when it comes to these.
Beautiful. Really good advice. So where are we going to go from here? But, I want to follow up just a second about coaching versus consulting, because I think they can very much be the same. I can appreciate your distinction here. I think it's essential for any of us to describe our services and what's involved with them, and also to get a sense of what our clients' customers, patients' needs are, and speak to them of what may be involved. So for somebody, it may be, as you describe it, as a one-off, where they just have some basic questions that they need clarified and directed to. And for those that are making dietary and lifestyle changes, it does take time, and it does take guidance and ongoing support. I think there's largely the difference here. And you, as a graduate of the Hawthorn's Master of Science in Holistic Health Nutrition Education program, you're really aligning within your scope of practice to do coaching more than consulting, just by that language alone, I think.
Totally.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about audience building. How did you build your audience, and do you have suggestions for those of us sitting here listening?
Absolutely. So my main audience builder is YouTube, and the way to build an audience on YouTube is to be authentic and create consistent content. So I started off with weekly videos, and that's pretty much what I have done is weekly. But I do think that no matter what you do, you have to market yourself. You can't just like build it and they will come anymore. So interact with people on Instagram. If you're asking people questions on Instagram and they're leaving comments, comment back to them. Like, don't ignore your questions. That's a big one because you want to build a relationship with your audience. I also want to point out that having the influencer piece in your business can supplement your income, or it can be a full-time job. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. You can do a bunch of other things. It's your business, however you want to do it. But I like to suggest looking at social media as your marketing. So on Instagram, giving calls to action, check out this thing on my website, give me your email for this awesome freebie that I made. On YouTube, having links to other helpful things. Facebook groups can be really great too. I do have a Facebook group, but I honestly don't give it the attention that I used to anymore. But it can be a really great way to build an audience. And then don't forget about using Pinterest. And Pinterest is really more of a search engine than a social media site because that's how it's built. And Pinterest actually is 50% of my traffic. So if you use Pinterest correctly, it will give you so much traffic onto your website that you're not getting from anywhere else. And then grow your email list. Have a really awesome freebie that people can get in exchange for giving you their email, because you own your email list. You don't own Instagram. So if Instagram goes away tomorrow, so does your audience. So you want to make sure you have those emails. And then lastly, if you want to reach a whole chunk of people at once, don't be afraid to pitch yourself to be a guest on a really cool podcast, or pitch yourself for guest blogging opportunities on some of your favorite blogs. And then in terms of working with brands, I know I've hammered this in a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Only work with brands whose mission you align with and promote products that you love. Don't lose your integrity or your audience trust over a brand deal with lots and lots of zeros after it. And don't, on the flip side, don't sell yourself short. So know how much your services are worth. And of course, you can always make packages, do different package for different kinds of clients with different budgets, but you'll probably end up saying no more than you say yes if you are sticking to knowing your worth.
Beautiful advice there, and just stepping through all of this audience building is just some terrific information here. You mentioned about pitching yourself onto podcasts and submitting to larger blogs and things like that. Obviously you've been successful at it. Is there better or worse ways of going about it?
I mean, there are definitely better ways to craft a pitch than, hey, I want to do this. Here's my information. But definitely look for the correct person to send the pitch to. And that might take some digging and some like Instagram stalking to find like the assistant editor of whatever website it is. And follow up, because a lot of times people will just not respond because their inbox is full or they're not interested. Don't be afraid to follow up and say, hey, did you get my last email? I would love this opportunity. And also phrase it in a way of not just this would be great for me, but here are the things that I can offer your audience and why it would be so great for you to have me.
All right, great. Thank you for that additional piece. So we need to start looking at pulling this together a little bit, but I want to get to some of the challenges that you may have faced and how you've addressed that and what didn't quite work the way that you intended.
I think going back in time, I would have started my email list sooner, promoted it better. I would not have accepted free product from the beginning in exchange for my services. I would have created a media kit early on and not been afraid to send it to brands and say, no, I do charge and here's why. I would have started pitching myself earlier, and it's totally okay. I think that you should try anything that you're interested in. And it's okay to stop doing something that doesn't fit in your business anymore or doesn't feel good anymore. Like I used to have an Etsy shop. I don't have that anymore. I used to do a podcast, and the podcast is great. I love it. It just doesn't fit in my life at this time. And I think the biggest tip is really just don't compare yourself to other people in your industry, because when you're starting out, you probably don't know them, and it's really easy to not compare yourself. But as you become more established in your industry, you actually make friends with the people that you once looked up to, and then they become your peers, and you start realizing, oh, they talked to that brand. Well, that brand told me they didn't have a budget. And it can be really easy to compare your businesses with each other. And I would 100% not do that. Like, mute people on Instagram if you need to. Don't look at their posts. I mean, you can still be friends with them, of course, but just do not compare what you're doing with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Comparing. Get us in so much trouble. Or I wonder if you had anything else in that area, or if you have any additional tips that you want to share here.
Yeah. So I think that if going back to starting out, if it were me, don't do what I did and do what now I know after 4.5 years in this business, is I would start by knowing my ideal client really well. I would get my offer nailed down and really only offer one-on-one coaching until you start to see a pattern on what people who are attracted to you need and want, and get really, really, really good at what you do. Be open to their feedback. You might not always like it, and get their testimonials and save those testimonials. Like, save them in a Google Doc until you're going to use them. And then once that core of your business is rolling, then I think it's a great time to consider other revenue streams, like doing an ebook or courses, or like I said, in my Etsy shop, you could do physical products. You could add in affiliate marketing from the beginning, I think, but sponsored posts would be a great time too. I just think like getting your core really solid is a really wise thing to do before doing add-ons that a lot of people see as passive income. Mm-hmm. And whatever you do, make it an easy yes. So if you go to like your work with me section, I would suggest that there's a button that people can click, and it will just open up your schedule, and people can select their time right there. They don't have to like email you back and forth unless you have a reason for that. Mm-hmm. But just like make it an easy yes.
It's really good additional tips for income earning, Laura. And what about future plans for you? What's up for you coming?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying kind of being in a maintenance space now that my life is like settled down a little bit, and working with people one-on-one. I am hoping to release a physical product late this year again, and so I'm putting a lot of energy into that, but I'm really just enjoying hanging out with people one-on-one again.
That physical product? I think it's a secret. I want to know.
It is.
Okay. All right. I'm going to have you bring it back. I'm going to have you back and tell us all about it.
Yeah.
My curiosity is up. All right. We have a couple of questions, but I do want to know I want to let people know how they can stay connected with you, Laura.
Absolutely. You can find me at laurasnaturallife.com and on YouTube, Laura's Natural Life. And on Instagram, I'm also at Laura's Natural Life. Really easy.
Keep it easy, she says. I think that's the motto.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions is, how did you more closely identify your target audience?
Oh, I think that the module in B School really, really helped. But honestly, I would suggest just going on Pinterest and doing like a search for ideal client. And I'm sure you'll find some freebies on, like, look for ones that say like, okay, my ideal client's name is blank. She likes to shop at blank. So it's not just like people who are 24 to 30 years old and may have a gut health issue. Like, you want to basically create an ideal person in your mind and then speak to that person. So one of mine, and I have a different
your
one
ideal person, you?
No, actually.
And then you translate that to your audience?
Yeah, it can be you like a couple steps behind of where you are now. But like, I have a different ideal client for each of my courses. One of mine, her name is Tracy. She likes to shop at Madewell and she goes to Pure Bar, and you can base it off of people in your life. Like, you just want to get really specific.
I would think that, for you, what comes to mind is you love makeup, you recognize other people too, beauty products, what we put on our body, not just what's in our body, but also your experience with Lyme and mold and the seriousness of the health of people's dwelling also. I mean, those were really key, as I listen to this, is they're key into your target audience. They're certainly integral to the pieces that you've learned by experience and what you've learned in your trainings. So maybe I'm off on this a little bit, but it seemed like that guided you to reaching out to a certain group of people that were interested in what you have to offer.
Definitely.
Okay, another question is, can you give some concrete examples of brand affiliation process?
Oh, okay.
An example, anyway.
Yeah, like a brand or how to go about it?
I think it's an example of a brand affiliation process. What's the process?
So for an affiliate, you can join affiliate networks in which you can say one of mine is the Detox Market, which is a clean beauty boutique. I basically fill out a thing that says, I'd like to suggest your products. These are the things that I do. Here's my YouTube channel. Here's my website. And this is my audience size. And then more often than not, they'll approve you. And then you'll get a special link. And that link is what you can use in your blog post, in your YouTube description box. And when people click on that link and they buy something, you'll get a small commission. And then in terms of if you meant the sponsorship, that can go one of two ways. One is, actually there's three ways. One is I could send a pitch, say I wanted to work with Target. I have never worked with Target. I'm just using them as an example. I would find the person who's in charge of that, and I would send them a pitch with, here's how I can represent your brand in this really cool way. I have this creative idea in mind. Here's my media kit, which has all of my information on like my audience size, where they come from, their demographics, how often I upload, and then my rates for each different thing. And like, can we put together a package of different types of stuff? Another way would be the reverse. A brand reaches out to me, says, hey, I have this product. I really think you'd like it. Would you be interested in reviewing it? Say I am interested, which is honestly something has to wow me for me to really want to pursue it. Yeah,
standards, right?
You want it to be a immediate yes. If there's any question, it's probably not the right fit. But I'll try the product. If I like the product, I'll say, yes, I am interested in doing this partnership with you. Again, here's my media kit with all my rates. Or do you have a budget? And once they give me their budget, I can say, okay, for that amount of money, I could do XYZ for you, kind of a thing. And then the third way is there's actually networks that you can join where companies can put their campaigns on there and you can like bid on them. I have very little experience with that because the one time I used that, I got burned really badly. And I know a lot of people who are making full-time income off of sponsorships use those type of networks, but it's generally not the way that I have used them.
Wow, I'm so grateful for this question. Thank you, Margot. It was the media kit and rates piece that hadn't come out previously is great to have included here. So thank you so much, Laura, for all this information and for the time that you took to put this together and step out of your business and your secrets that are in development and share with us today. It's really been a pleasure, Laura, and I sure hope that you'll visit us again at Hawthorn and share some more of your good works.
Definitely.
I expect them to continue in many good ways. So I hope that you'll help me spread the word and that you'll come back again for our next All About Alumni. We'll meet back here on Wednesday, March 6th. We'll be live with Jill Morand. She's a graduate of our MSHN program. It's a more clinical track that she took. So I look forward to that and sharing more time together with you. And until then, I wish you all the best of health and hope you take good care.